Alright, kings, gentlemen, everyone else, welcome to yet another exciting episode of Poorly Produced Hat Commercial. And today we're going to have to talk about, that old favorite subject of mine, which is the Russian fifth column within the West, within Europe. Now, you may have noticed this continent is in the middle of rearming for a confrontation with Russia, a confrontation which seems inevitable. Yeah, beautiful rain clouds behind me. A confrontation which seems inevitable unless we arm the Ukrainians sufficiently that they actually disintegrate the Russian Federation. That's the only way we can avoid a continent-wide war. But even so, the Russians have benefited greatly from just having their little gargoyles run around our information space, spreading poison, spreading disinformation, and undermining our resolve to fight. So we need to think about all the ways we can deal with them. So let's start by listing who our enemy is. Our enemies are, you can briefly describe them as the so-called national populist right and the so-called dirtbag left. Now, dirtbag left is an American term, but for purposes here, it will have to do for describing the enemy. Shit. I am very badly sunburned, apparently, and it's still March. Anyways, so these two factions, these two groups, the national populist right and the dirtbag left. And by dirtbag, I mean the tankies, the Soviet-style leftists, the communists, the whatever. They are, for the most part, I would say close to 80% under the control of the Kremlin, direct or indirect, through money, through compromise, through ideology, or through ego. Russia has convinced them that their ideology is Russia's ideology, or they're being directly paying. They have the leaders compromised using some sort of blackmail. Whatever the methods of control, these factions are controlled. So you have the Alternative for Deutschland in Germany, possibly the single biggest example of such controlled opposition. You have Rassemblement National in France, which is, the former Front National under the control of the Le Pen family. You have, in the United Kingdom, Reform UK, although recently I have noticed that a lot of the focus is shifting towards the Homeland Party of Kenny Smith, a Scottish fellow who used to be head of security for the British National Party and played a big part, apparently, in its downfall. What part, it's not still clear, because nobody who was involved in that downfall will give a straight answer as to what the fuck happened. And, these are just the many different examples. You have various political parties in Europe which are, Kremlin-aligned, Kremlin-controlled, and Europe is sadly not doing much to address this problem. So there's some things that need to be done. First of all, I think very obviously these parties need to be banned. These parties need to be banned and the leadership arrested. And currently, the only country which is doing that is Romania. Romania is the only European country which is doing what is necessary to fight back against the Kremlin's attempt to undermine our resolve. That's the first thing you need to do. Second, you have to cut off their ability to spread disinformation by controlling or banning social networks. And the social networks that really need to get hit in order to disrupt Kremlin communications are TikTok and Twitter. TikTok, of course, is a Chinese active measures tool, which we should be banning anyways, independent of what the Russians are doing, because the Chinese are using it to destroy our info space. And Twitter, after having been taken over by Elon Musk with the help of shady Russian, Israeli, and Saudi money, is ground zero for the fifth generation attacks on European communications. So, the people who are trying to get you to hate your own people, to hate your own civilization, they are, for the most part, congregating on Twitter. They're usually some resentful shits from the third world, like there's that Cambodian who pretends to live in Genoa. There is Ian Miles Chong, who's Indonesian, but never really seems to just stop hating on Europe and cheering on Russia. It's like a lot of these very disgusting. The classic one is, oh, I am Texas Oblast veteran and we should be allied with Russia and not Ukraine. And then Elon Musk saying, wow, in comments. Yeah, so this is the kind of, this should all, of course, be banned. But, and here it's going to get a little controversial, you have to realize that a lot of these countries a lot of these parties have arisen because the people of Europe have some legitimate grievances which have not been addressed by the current ruling class. And the two biggest ones would be the bugaboos of both the national populists and the dirtbag leftists. And those are uncontrolled immigration into the European continent, which has been going on since 2015. And yes, the Russians are in large part to blame for it. They started and kept the Syrian civil war going. They are destabilizing Africa. They are just turning all these populations loose so they end up in Europe. And they're also actively bringing people in through Russia and Belarus to invade Poland and Lithuania through their borders. But we have a lot of the blame as well, and especially Merkel's Christian Democratic Union for opening the gates of Europe almost unilaterally, right, to all of these people coming in. And even before that, you had immigration, which, well, nobody was really consulted about whether they want their country to be flooded with immigrants. And people were saying, oh, but the population is decreasing. What are we going to do? We don't have enough workers. But population decrease is not the end of a country, not the end of a culture. Being replaced in your own homeland is. The second reason is people are feeling dispossessed. The poor get poorer, the rich get richer. Now, it's nowhere near as bad as it is in America, but it is a factor. Young people, such as myself, we do not, well, it's very difficult for us to find a house for ourselves, you know? It's very difficult to finally get away from the lead. You have failure to launch for the millennial generation. You have limited opportunities for advancement in both career and in family. And these are all problems which need to be addressed. And these are all problems driving people towards the dirtbag left, especially in the East. You know, people are becoming tankies because they're hearing the stories from their grandparents or their parents, things were better during communism. And they're getting the same sort of bullshit from Twitter and TikTok and social media saying, oh, you know, the solution to your wages being stagnant, that's actually communism. We need communism, so Russia needs to crush Ukraine so we can bring back communism. Or China needs to become a world hegemon so we can get communism. So we need economic reform. We need youth-focused economic reform. We need Europe's youth to feel like a future is possible once again. And of course, this is more than just an economic problem, but it's not dox joggers. This is more than just an economic problem. This is a cultural problem, but it has to be addressed. And if the European political center would address these issues and the attendant ones of just cultural malaise, it would kneecap the national populist right and the dirtbag left, the tankies, and destroy their electoral chances with the people, you know. And then all you really have to do is just deal with the leadership in the aftermath, as I have suggested that Friedrich Merz do in Germany. I don't know if he's going to take me up on that advice. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's got people telling him exactly that. And that leaves the countries which have these sort of pro-Russian fifth columnists as their government. And these are, as a general rule, countries in the former Austro-Hungarian Empire and the Balkan Peninsula. And I would say the four biggest offenders are Slovakia, Hungary, Serbia, and Macedonia. Now, Serbia and Macedonia aren't part of the EU. And, you know, people have told me Slovenia is also pretty bad, but I don't know about Slovenia. I cannot confirm or deny that. But the problem there goes beyond just giving the people what they want and taking care of a very small but dedicated cadre of Kremlin shills. The problem there lies in you have to actually purge the state administration of these Kremlin confederates, and in many cases, so for example, in the cases of Serbia and Hungary, the communists were never properly purged from the government, you know, especially not from the security arms, especially not from the counterintelligence services. And this is what has allowed these pro-Kremlin parties to rise to power and function as a fifth column for Europe. So now I see that I think they call it Tisza party in Hungary, is poised to overthrow Fidesz, which is Orban's pro-Kremlin, pro-Russian, anti-European party. And that would be a good thing, except, you know, it would not be enough. You would actually have to, if Tisza were to win in Hungary, then they would actually have to start the long and difficult process of purging the Hungarian government apparatus of all of the Fidesz cadres, which would be prepared to just sell out Europe and sell out Hungary to China and Russia, as Orban has been doing for the past how many years has been in power. And here in Macedonia, right, in 2017, we ousted our pro-Russian, pro-Chinese prime minister, but because the people who replaced him were these spineless central leftists, you know, think of Olaf Scholz without the intelligence, and they were pretty corrupt themselves, you know, nobody really went to prison. There were no mass firings from the state administration. No no party loyalists were replaced with competent people. It was just the central leftist party took it as an opportunity to enrich themselves. Macedonia was never fully crowbarred from outside the Russian and Chinese sphere of influence. So now we got the pro-Russian party back in power, and they're destroying the country. And things are not looking up for Macedonia. So that's, I guess, my advice to the new Hungarian government if they get into power. It's not enough to get into the prime minister's office. You actually have to purge the scum from the state apparatus, and especially the police and counterintelligence services. So that's what should be done with the Kremlin's fifth column within Europe. Stay strong, guys, and stay out of the sun. What can I say?